LIBOR on $100 million of the portion. Two $50 million notes will pay 12.5% and 14.5% over LIBOR. That's according to Bloomberg, and that's better than what Mr. Buffett is getting from Swiss Re. It's expected that Aspen Re's Ajax vehicle, which is the fourth of the cat bonds that use swaps with Lehman, is expected to default on its interest payment later this month. That's according to Standard & Poor's. In the world of banking secrecy, Switzerland is king. They would tell you today that they're still king, although in Washington they're happily believing that they're not. The Swiss government today bowed to international pressure when its president made the announcement that they will conform to international standards on exchanging information on suspected cases of tax evasion. President Merz, who is the rotating president of the Swiss Federal Council, made the announcement along with Austria and Luxembourg, offering concessions before a meeting of leaders of the group of 20 nations in London at the start of next month. The Swiss government said that it has agreed to exchange information with third countries on individual tax evasion cases where there are, quote, specific and justified requests. However, the Swiss government added that banking secrecy is still maintained. The Federal Council acknowledges that the wish of the people of Switzerland for appropriate protection of personal privacy is still firmly entrenched. For this reason, it fully endorses banking secrecy and rejects resolutely any form of automatic exchange of information. Stock market was choppy pretty much all morning, but it's up about 1.5 points right now. This was after yesterday when it went up about another 200 points. One other bit of good news, I should have mentioned this at the onset. The University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index for the month of March so far has actually gone up about 0.2 of a point. People, I think, are scratching their heads. They thought it was going to go down again. So there seems to be an aligning of some things. We have the three banks making their statements. We have President Obama yesterday with the business leaders of the White House saying he's very optimistic. We have the trade deficit narrowing, and we have the consumer sentiment index going up. Maybe I'm grasping at straws. We'll go to a word from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news. Allianz said this morning that it expects costs related to Winter Storm Klaus that hit parts of France and Spain at the end of January to be around 163 million euros. They also said that for Winter Storm Quinton that hit France in February, they expect claims of about 32 million euros, and for the Australian bushfires, it expects a bill of around 41 million euros. To date, first quarter claims related to natural disasters amount to about 236 million euros pre-tax, according to Allianz. There's a massive fire right now in Dhaka, Bangladesh. It's broken out on the upper floors of a high-rise office building above a shopping mall. The name of the mall is the Bashandura City Shopping Mall, and as you can see, the fire is on the 18th and 19th floor. The 18th floor is a corporate office. The building apparently, except for the mall, is relatively empty because Friday is a weekend in Bangladesh. The mall, in fact, has been evacuated. The oil spill in Australia has now been upgraded insofar as damage. The government of northeastern Queensland state has now said that it's an environmental disaster and is treating it as such. The pristine beach is now caked with oil. National parks in Moreton and Brebe Islands, just north of Brisbane, were worst hit by oil spilled from the container ship Pacific Adventurer on Wednesday. The potential for long-term environmental damage is not yet clear. The affected area, though, is far to the south of the Great Barrier Reef, which is not under threat. Britain's Swire Shipping Company Limited, the Hong Kong-registered ship owner, said the containers aboard the ship had slipped from the deck as it rocked in cyclone-stirred waters caused by Tropical Storm Hamish. Then they ripped a hole in the fuel tank of the ship and spilled the equivalent of more than 11,000 gallons of heavy fuel oil into the sea. That's a much bigger amount of oil than was reported yesterday. The shipping company said a diver's inspection of the hull had led to conclude that the amount of spilled oil was in fact significantly more than that, but they did not give a replacement figure. So they say that it's significantly more than 11,000 gallons. Yesterday, I think it was 5,000 yesterday, they were saying. If you were in central Athens this morning, this isn't news to you. You probably were running for your life. A group of hooded youths armed with crowbars and sledgehammers today vandalized shop fronts, banks, and cars in the affluent Athens district of Kolonokai. Midday shoppers were stunned to see about 50 youths armed with hammers and crowbars smashing windows as they ran through town toward the Bohemian district of Exarchia, the center of serious unrest back in December over the fatal shooting of a young student by police. The youths caused damage to the windows of at least 4 banks, half a dozen stores, and 10 cars. They then subsequently sought refuge in the nearby Athens University Law School, which of course is covered by strict regulatory guidance that limit police entry into any university-owned property. So they're hiding out there as we speak. Yesterday we had a near miss up in space. The 3 astronauts manning the International Space Station climbed briefly into their Soyuz escape capsule. That's a Russian capsule that's bolted onto the side of the space station. That's to be used in case of an immediate evacuation. They climbed in as a precaution yesterday after a piece of space debris was detected in the vicinity. The detection of the debris was apparently too late to maneuver the station to a safe distance. The crew spent 11 minutes in the escape capsule until the debris, which was a little bit of a spent satellite motor, passed by harmlessly. They then went back into the space station. The debris, well, it was reported to be 1/3 of an inch wide. However, it was moving at approximately 168,000 miles a minute. You wouldn't want to be hit with that. Space stations' operating rules require evacuation as a precaution when debris is detected within a preset distance. If you've been to Chicago, you're pretty familiar with the skyline. One of the most impressive pieces of the skyline is this. This, of course, is the Sears Tower. Well, it's not going to be the Sears Tower for much longer. The 110-story Sears Tower is going to be renamed the Willis Tower. Willis said that it has leased multiple floors in the 1,450-foot building in downtown Chicago. Part of the agreement includes that the building is going to be renamed the Willis Tower this summer when the move takes place. Sears moved out in the early 1990s. The building is apparently the 5th tallest completed building in the world. There's also another little broker in Chicago. They're in a building that used to be called the Amico Building. The Aon Building, yes, the Aon Building, which is approximately 70 stories high, 40 stories shorter than the Willis Building. It's right in Aon's backyard. Another victory for Joe Plumeri. Good for him. Stock market remains a little bit up, a couple of points. If we have any other breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. If not, stay out of trouble on Friday the 13th, and we'll see you on Monday. Thank you for watching.